learn about the species you plan to keep. Your mindset might initially focus on all the wrong things like tank size or anything else that catches your eye, and you'll become laser focused on those few things. This hobby is so much more enjoyable if you do your homework and not rely on all the staff at the local fish store. You should never put your animals in harm's way because of impulsive decision. Trust me, I've had my fair share of losses, and I want to help you avoid these mistakes. Decide what species of fish and inverts you wish to keep. Create a list of must-have and build your aquarium around those inhabitants. Focus on keeping fish that are hardy in captivity with a proven track record of surviving 10 plus years. For my current tank, I made a fish list long before starting my reef. It included 7 tangs, a pair of clownfish, a group of chromies. I told myself that once these fish were established, I wouldn't add any more. 2 years later, I still have not added any new fish. If I bought a new one, I'd have to go through quarantine, and honestly, the risk and effort aren't worth it. Besides, all my fish have established their territories and happy, and they are my first priority. I'm sure if they could speak, they would object to any new fish. There are exceptions to the rule. For example, all my peppermint shrimps mysteriously died, all 20 of them. Aptasia is starting to multiply aggressively, and these peppermint shrimps were doing a good job of eating all the baby aptasias. So I'm considering adding a filefish or copper band. Early in my reef keeping journey, I put so much emphasis on buying larger fish. I hope this isn't still a case today because now I much prefer adding smaller fish. They look better and tend to adjust to captivity more easily than large fish. I got my purple tang when it was 1 inch, and within a year it grew to 4 inches. My orange shoulder tang grew from 2 inches to 9 inches in 12 months. It doesn't take long for a fish to grow as long as you're making sure their bellies are full. Also, larger fish require much more maintenance and put a strain on your biological filter. It's better to stick with mostly smaller fish and a few larger show fish if you have the room for them. Instead, I would suggest looking for fish with good personalities like mandarins, hawkfish, and jawfish. Focus on creating a reef that resembles a natural reef with rock dwellers, swimmers, and cleanup crew inverts like bloodfire shrimp. This is a good example of a fish only with live rock tank. Most of these fish are predator fish, so small fish will not work in this tank because anything that could fit in the lionfish's mouth will be dinner. You have a big damsel there, and you have a cleaner wrasse, which is will pick parasites off of the fish's gill, so that serves a good purpose in a tank with fish only. This one has a large panther grouper, emperor angel, clown triggerfish, pink-tailed trigger, and a Niger trigger. You know, I remember when I saw a Niger trigger when I was a young kid, and I read that really wrong. You know, I said it with two G's, so I thought it was kind of funny back then. But then I realized it wasn't what I was saying. It was actually Niger, and I think the local fish store corrected me on that. So that was kind of funny. Yeah, but this is a really healthy fish tank. If this is the way you want to go, you need a good method for nitrate and phosphate removal, probably water changes. This system is a reef tank by Steve Wiest. He's an old school reefer. He had a website back in the day called Oregon Reef. So he had like a 6-foot deep aquarium, which was incredible. Still an inspiration to this day. But this is his newest tank. It's not as big. It is breathtaking to see this system. I mean, he has a mixed reef tank, but just the placement and his aquascape is top notch. He has a Moorish idol in the tank, which is a really hard fish to feed. It needs a lot of fiber in their diet. These are the fish that are expert only. Here is a pair of clownfish hosting a really nice carpet anemone. You got a toadstool on the bottom. But in a tank like this, you know, you cannot add no clown triggerfish. It will kind of ruin the balance of the system and start eating a lot of the stuff. It's got a regal angelfish, copper band. That's really good fish for aptasia if you could find a good one. I love this shot. It's really cool. He's got Gregorians in there. I mean, the one thing I like about him is he definitely doesn't have any visible power heads in his system. You know, I think he likes to just look at the reef. So he spends a lot of time planning his aquascape so he could hide all the flow. I believe he does have a closed loop system. You won't see no ugly pipes and pumps in his system. Here's a nice acro. Very good growth form. Here's some branching staghorn acropora. He placed them up on the top. I see actually a Picasso triggerfish there, so you can add them, but it is a risk. I mean, it's mainly a risk if you have like shrimps and stuff like that, but sometimes you can get away with it, but I wouldn't recommend it. Another thing I don't particularly like in my aquariums are anemones, because they have a tendency to roam around, and knowing my luck, they'll probably end up in the vortex pump. Here's an Achilles tang. I see a hawkfish. This is such a nice shot. Emperor angels are also fish I don't particularly like unless you have a 1,000-gallon fish tank, just because they grow really big and fat and they produce a lot of waste in the aquarium. Similar to my orange shoulder tang, he produces a lot of waste. I much rather have smaller fish and a few decent sized medium fish that don't get too big. Yep, so this is a good example of a community reef tank with nice fish that are really balanced. So just know what type of aquarium you want. You could always start with a fish only with live rock and then upgrade and get rid of corals and add new fish later. But I hope you enjoyed this video. Until next time, peace out.